Go for a walk around most places across the world and you'll find a plethora of Indian, Chinese and Italian restaurants, but very few Spanish by comparison. Now that's kind of weird when you think about how important food is to the Spanish way of life and about how proud Spanish people are of their own food. You can take it from me that they definitely never tire of telling you, that's for sure. In Madrid or in the rest of Spain, on the other hand, there are plenty of good places to eat, and eating out tends to be quite a time-consuming activity, not that that's a bad thing, unless you are by yourself. Now I've been teaching English in lots of different companies over the years, and in many of them their employees are given a 2-hour lunch break, and on top of that they've even got the cheek to go for a siesta every single day of their lives as well. It's unbelievable. Now breakfast isn't given very much importance in Spain. People will eat it on the go or skip it altogether, and they'll instead favour having a bigger meal at lunchtime, with a lot of folk choosing to go out for a daily special menu, particularly if they are at work. Dinner, on the other hand, is a lighter meal, and if you see anybody in a Spanish restaurant before 9 o'clock, then they're probably going to be a guiri, which is a Spanish word for a Pili Wally foreigner like me. So there's a very close link between food and alcohol in Spain, I think definitely much more so than there is back home in Scotland anyway. Now, an example of this would be on a night out. So if you think about a night out back at home, you'd probably wolf down your dinner, you race down to the pub to get started on the pints as quickly as possible, whereas here in Spain, people take their time and food will probably be involved in the night out at some stage. Now, I think the objective of a night out here is not really to get drunk, although I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but is more to have a good time with your mates, enjoy some good food, some good drinks, and invariably that means that by the end of the night you can remember your own name and you still have the ability to walk. Now, there are some cracking Spanish wines and also some really good Spanish beers, which are maybe not very well known outside of Spain, in fact. Now, if you're in a bar and you order a wine or a beer, you might be lucky and get a free tapa, a free appetizer, to go along with it. Just don't expect your beer to come in a pint glass. You're much more likely to get a doble or a caña, which are smaller measures, basically because if you order a pint of beer in the height of summer, then it's going to get very hot very quickly. Spirits are a different story on the other hand. If you can distract the barman who's serving you for long enough, then you can basically get as much alcohol as you want. Think about Spanish food and possibly the first thing that comes to mind is paella. Now, because I'm in Madrid and paella isn't at all typical in Madrid, I'm not actually going to speak about it today. I'll maybe leave that for another video when I'll hopefully have the chance to visit some of the cities on the east coast of Spain. Good tapas, on the other hand, you can find absolutely everywhere, and Madrid is certainly not any different. Now, I have to be totally honest and say that when I first came over here, I wasn't at all a fan of tapas. I really wasn't up for sharing food with anybody, but I wouldn't have survived this long in Spain if I hadn't changed my mind. So what do you need to try? Well, first up there's tortilla, Spanish omelette. Make sure you order a pincho, which is basically a slice and not a whole tortilla, that's a bit of a schoolboy error. Croquettes, main flavours, chicken, mushroom, cod and ham. Oxtail, which is a personal favourite of mine. And last but definitely not least is Iberian ham. Now if you slag off Iberian ham to a Spanish person, it's basically the equivalent of telling them that their baby is really ugly. They'll be really offended. Now, as far as Madrid food goes, there is one Madrid delicacy which is especially famous, and that is cocido madrileño, which is basically a Madrid stew. Now, it's composed of different parts. The first one is a broth-like soup, which is often served with noodles, and the second one is a dish containing chickpeas, meat, potatoes, and vegetables. Whoa, starving now. So it's just dawned on me that this could actually be my last ever visit to the Vicente Calderón, what with Atletico planning to move to the new ground at the start of next season. So I'm starting to well up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's because of emotion or because it's absolutely Baltic and my eyes are stinging a wee bit. Now, it's also brought back memories of my first ever visit here. It was April 2010, Europa League semi-final, first leg. Diego Forlan scored the only goal as Atletico beat Liverpool. They also went on to qualify for the final, winning on away goals after extra time at Anfield. And of course, they also won the Europa League. They beat Fulham, yes, Fulham, in the final again after extra time. So that night was possibly one of the best atmospheres I've ever experienced at a live game of football, paralleled perhaps only by the Angus Derby at Glebe Park, Brechin. Now, back to the season. Atletico fans, I'm really sorry. I feel that I might have jinxed your team. I wrote a very complimentary article about them last month, and basically since then, their league season has kind of gone haywire. So they've lost 3 of their last 4 La Liga games, and they're now 9 points adrift of Real Madrid at the top of the La Liga table, They're 5 points behind Barcelona. So they've got a lot of work to do if they're to get back into the title race. And, you know, I think they'll need a lot of results to go in their favour if they are to do so as well. The Champions League has been a different story though. They're absolutely flying. They're already through to the knockout stages. So their main objective for the final 2 games is to win the group. Now they're currently 3 points ahead of Bayern Munich with 2 matches left. Tonight they could go through as group winners if they manage to beat PSV and Bayern don't beat Rostov, which you would have to think is unlikely. So the winners of the group could well be decided in the final match in Munich. In any case, Atletico and PSV have already played each other 3 times in the last couple of years. They've been very close encounters, so I'm expecting another one tonight. Let's go in and see how they get on. So you can ignore the last 30 seconds of what I just said there. No sooner had I got to my seat than I realised Bayern had lost to Rostov. Can't believe it. Had them on my coupon. They got beat. Never betting on football again. Probably until Saturday, that is. Anyway, now Atletico, as it stands, only needs a point to get through. They will get it. It's 0-0 at half time. It's been very interesting to see how Simeone set his team up, especially after the Madrid derby defeat Real Madrid. There was a lot of chat about how he'd played a more attacking central midfield. Now I wrote about that in my article about Madrid, Atletico Madrid as well. Now tonight he's reverted back to the kind of classic Simeone Atletico style with 2 more defensive central midfielders with Thiago and Gabi, with Koke playing from the right. Now Koke's actually done pretty well offensively. They've come in field, him and Griez-man have tried to get Gamero away, but Gamero's been totally off the pace. He missed an absolute sitter, did a Fernando Torres impression, and generally has not really looked up for it at all. Now, there's something just not quite out with Atletico at the moment. They're not really defending the way you'd expect them to. There are more gaps appearing in defence. Felipe Luis was caught a bit far outfield. To be fair to him, he got back and made a brilliant block to prevent PSV from opening the scoring. So there's a bit of work to do for Atletico. There's a few worrying signs, maybe a bit low in confidence after the recent results. Anyway, time for a half-time snack. No pies here, so we'll get stuck into a baguette instead. Very continental, I know. I'm really not having any luck tonight. I spent the half-time break criticising Gamero for his first-half performance, and it was him who broke the deadlock, and he looked a lot more lively in the second period, which was completely dominated by Atletico Madrid. Now, I think the performances of the central midfielders, Thiago and Gabi, actually had a lot to do with their second-half improvement. They were much sharper in the tackle. They stuck much tighter to the PSV midfielders, and basically they won the game for Atletico. In fact, both of them won balls in midfield and set up the 2 goals for Gamero and Griez-man. And I think PSV basically didn't get a sniff in the second half. They had plenty of possession in the first half, but they really threatened in the second. I think All Black really only had 1 save to make. And the last 20 minutes with Atletico 2-0 up were a bit of a non-event, to be honest. Now, I should clarify something that I said at half-time, that I praised Felipe Luis for getting back quickly to block what looked like to be a certain goal for PSV, but it was actually Griez-man who was away back there. He must have sprinted about 60 yards to get back and deny a one-on-one chance for the Dutch side, and that basically sums him up. You know, I think his work rate is incredible, especially considering he's the type of player you would expect to be a creative force but not really do very much for the team. It's not at all the case for Griez-mann. Unbelievable. So yeah, Atletico Madrid safely through to the next round as group winners, so they might well get a favourable draw. Now, it will be interesting to see how Simeone sets up his team from now on in. I think that they definitely benefited, especially in the second half, from having the double defensive centre midfielders, as I mentioned at half-time, with Thiago and Gabi there. Now, he doesn't have too many other options, so that is the only thing that might prevent him from deploying that system in future, especially in the big games, which, you know, I think they've had success with in the past, so they might well look to that in the coming weeks and months. Right, that's going to be the last Football Romance on tour video from Madrid for the next wee while, so you're probably getting tired of it. I'll be moving a little bit further afield for the next one, so that's something for you to look out for, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Ciao for now.